Find big savings and big selections of the biggest brands in bedding during the Big Sleep Sale at Sleep Outfitters. Enjoy store-wide savings up to 65% off and free TVs with select sets, including this Sealy Pillow Top Queen Set with gel foam on sale now for just $4.99. Plus, get a free TV. Ask about 0% financing and free delivery now through Monday during the Big Sleep Sale at Sleep Outfitters.
Hello and welcome back to the Tennessean's Bernard Pollard Show presented by Sleep Outfitters. So we are back here with Bernard and Jim Wyatt, and we're joined now with John Glennon, another beat writer for the Tennessean. And we're going to switch things up a little bit here since, you know, Bernard hasn't been on the field. He's been watching the games, and he's gonna go ahead and ask our writers what they've been seeing. So he's going to play the journalist here. All right, Bernard, go for it.
Okay, so I don't want y'all to be mad at me if they offer me y'all job after the show. So, you know, I'm going to start with John. You know, as far as what you've seen on the field, you know, I've seen from a distance, you know, on TV. You've been at practice. You've been at the games. As far as what do you think the mentality of the football team, what you've seen so far after the two losses back-to-back?
Yeah, you know, I think the good thing for the Titans is we haven't seen a breakdown in the locker room. You know, right. I think the mentality, as best we can tell, is still good. You know, you were certainly a strong leadership presence in the locker room, but I think there's some other guys in there too. You got your George Wilson, Wesley Wood. Your guys are keeping things together pretty well, and I think there's encouragement at least by the fact that these games are close here recently. These recent games, not like the few games earlier in the year where they were blowouts, more, you know, very one-sided. So I think the mentality to me is still pretty good, and Ken Wisenhunt seems to be keeping things on a positive basis for the most part. So, Jim, what are your thoughts? Are you
Can you please?
Oh, that's right. I forgot you're the host.
Bernard's
You're
in
the guy.
charge, John. Bernard's in
go
charge.
answer that question.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You got one subtracted from me.
I mean, I get the sense it's just a frustrated team, a team that's just kind of banging his head against the wall a lot of times. I mean, guys like Derek Morgan and you know, John and I have covered this team for a long time, and I've been around Derek Morgan and Michael Griffin and Jarrell Casey, all these guys since they first came in the league, and they just felt like this was going to be the year things would get better. This would be the year things would turn, and I just didn't get this, you know, the sense from talking to them after tough losses, you know, I can't believe we're still talking about this, and and they don't really have answers on what it is that's going to change it. I mean, I think personally, if this team could start to find a way to win some of these close games, you start getting some momentum, you start getting a mindset change. But until that happens, you know, unfortunately, this team's just kind of stuck in a rut that has been in since the last playoff appearance back in 2008. And how that's going to change, who's going to be in charge of changing that, it's going to have to be a collection of guys. And it's a tough road to hoe coming up.
Okay, you know, and I think, you know, if we look back, you know, at last game, what do you think some of the, I would say, what do you think some of the things that they hit, some of the roadblocks that they hit in last game that caused them to lose that game?
Well, I think on both sides of the ball, I mean, I think there's plenty of blame. Offensively, there were several chances in that game to put the Redskins away, you know, especially when you get the ball with a lead, 6-7 minutes left to go, and you're not able to finish that drive off with, you know, with keeping the ball, running time off the clock. But the offensive line has been guilty of just way too many mistakes. I think 6 penalties by offensive linemen in the game. They're just killing drives with penalties right out of the gate. They're just putting the team in bad down and distance situations. And then the defense has got to have a killer instinct at times, and that's really has seemed to be lacking. You know, your buddy Michael Griffin, who I know is working hard and certainly putting in the effort, it seems like he's gotten into a little bit of a rut without you being back there with him. And I don't know whether that has something to do with it, him trying to do too much, learning the new guy back there, but he's been in a little bit of a funk as well.
Okay. Well,
what do you think about mine? I mean, I'm going to turn one back to you. You have to subtract a point from me like you did from John, but you know Michael Griffin, you know how hard he works. You guys were a good tandem, and now you've watched him the last couple of weeks since I guess one of the best games of his career against Cleveland when you were out there with him. Last 2 weeks he's really struggled. When you see him, what do you see?
Well, you know, it's tough for me as a player to be able to sit back and watch Mike go through this time. It's been 2 games, and I've, I can't do anything but encourage from a distance, and now get an opportunity to be able to go in tomorrow and be able to communicate with the guys and sit in, on the meetings from what I can, and just kind of talk. What I see right now is really not a lot of communication. And I think, when you're looking at things in the back end, you have to communicate, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It has to be communication. You look at one of the plays, we can't have big gains, and they go for touchdowns. We can't have that. So I think for Mike, he's trying to feel his way around, and it's tough when you're playing with, he's playing with George and he's playing with Damian Stafford.
Yep.
So when you look at things like that, when you're in the play, you forget who's over here to your left or to your right. And for the last year, him and I, he knows what I'm gonna say, he knows what I'm gonna do. So we kind of can work off each other. And I'm not trying to give any excuses for him. Our job is to play football and to win football games. And obviously we're not getting that done.
Let's go back to Grilling John here.
I got to redeem myself, so I got to get my point back.
Okay, I really don't want to talk to you right now, but no. So I guess, what do you see? Do you see growth from the past couple of weeks from this football team, from where we were? Do you see growth? Obviously Jim talked about the games being close, but.
Right. Yeah. As Jim said, there is frustration, but I do think if you're going to pick out some positives for the Titans, some of the young players,
right.
I think that's where you have to look. You got a guy like Taylor Lewan, who stepped in at a very difficult position, starting left tackle,
right.
who's done pretty well for himself. Damian Stafford, you mentioned that we've been seeing some good things from him. Bishop Sankey, there's been some flashes at least that he could be a good running back.
Right.
So. I think those are the encouraging signs for the Titans right now, is that some of those young guys are starting to shine, but for whatever reason, whether it's a fourth quarter situation and they're just not making the necessary plays like last week in Washington, there's a little bit of a disconnect. But if you're looking for signs, some of those young guys are starting to move in the right direction, I think.
That sounds good to me.
What do you think? How is it being the journalist, the reporter? What do you think about that?
Oh, this is good.
Is it as easy as they make it look?
Oh yeah, we can't. For us as players, we have to go out there. We have to communicate with you guys, and then we have to back it up on the football field. Well, you don't have to back anything up. All you're doing is writing, and so that's how you get paid, just to write about somebody else's mistakes. Nobody can see what you're doing in life, so it's a big difference.
I told him before this started that we were going to be exposed on this. I think that's what's happened right
Exactly.
here.